You're muted. You're muted. You're muted.
I'm muted. Okay. Hello, everyone. How are you? Hope you're having a fantastic day, and may peace be upon you. And thank you for watching the show. What can we say, right? This is live TV. So when you're live, and you just roll with things. And what a pleasure and what a blessing today to be joined by the beautiful ladies of I Am Powerful, the co-authors of I Am Powerful, whose books just reached the number one international best-selling author status on Amazon, that worked many months on crafting that story, sharing that story and crafting it, and then in the hopes of making an impact. So let's welcome Charmaine, Gabby, and Joan. Let's say hello to everybody.
Hello.
Hi. Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure to have you ladies. So, ladies, now that you've hit the number one international best-selling author title, or now being a best-selling author, how does it feel, Gabby? I know you've done it before. It's like you're having a second baby now. So how does it feel to be putting yourself out there? It's scary, but at the same time, if we don't do this, nobody else will. So what is it like for you to become a second time best-selling author, Gabby?
What a joy it is to be here with you, Dr. Izdihar, with my co-authors, Shamid Marian, Joao, Claire, Gilbert. It is a true privilege to be voicing our inner power within us all. It truly takes courage. I still am shaking when I relive the stories that we put out there so courageously. And the fears and the nervousness, and even re-experiencing the breakthroughs, the breakdowns. And I am in awe what is really possible when we do get through and the other side of it. And it is a true privilege to be able to do just that now.
That is exciting. It does take courage, right? You have this nervous, what if it does this? What if you've done enough? What if it's this? What if that? But sometimes you just gotta surrender, and you can't control the uncontrollable. So congratulations, Gabby, for curating the book, for being persistent, for like sharing your light with the ladies and everybody who read the book. And like you said before, Gabby, this book is an invitation. It's an invitation for people to reflect on who they truly are. And what is your kind of like hope to people when they read this book, Gabby?
Thank you so much. Absolutely. It is our intention, and my intention is to invite you to have a fresh look into your path, into your life, into the capacity and the ability or the possibility to reconnect with the power within all of us. And it is my absolute hope that you too can reconnect with the power within all of us and feel the fulfillment that it already is here in every area of our life. That's an invitation for yourself to experience it as many beautiful human beings are already experiencing when they are reading I Am Powerful book. It is a very ambitious, big statements and a bold statement about it. And we are. You are powerful, as I am powerful.
Absolutely. And just saying the statement, I am powerful, and embracing your flaws together with your strength is just the perfect combination, the perfect recipe. Thank you so much, Gabby, for sharing your wisdom. And next, I want to bring the next author, Joan here. Joan, darling, what is it like to be a best-selling author?
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. I never really, unlike Charmaine, I didn't have this dream as a child to become an author. But I, at the same time, like in the bus accident I share in my chapter, I knew that God had a greater mission and purpose for me. I didn't know what that was. And it's really wonderful to see this come to fruition of sharing my vulnerable moments and journey with others and helping other people relate to those times that they didn't feel their best or, wondered what the meaning and purpose of what they're going through is, and see how it all comes together. And I'm still unpacking it, right? But it's in being vulnerable, it gives permission for other people, I feel, to be vulnerable and find the gift in what they're experiencing, or be open to the possibility of finding the gift in what they're going through. And it's just a gift to be able to share that with the world.
Beautiful. And this vulnerability, it takes a lot to show it. Because from your background as a lawyer, you can't show any vulnerability because you'll be dead in the court or in the boardroom. Like you'll be dead if you show any vulnerability. It's a what do you call it? Shark eat shark kind of world. But how do you feel that by sharing your story and being vulnerable, how has it inspired yourself to kind of like own your past? Because you had some traumatic experience and you were also kind of like, should I express myself or should I hide who I am? So how has this vulnerability kind of like given you the strength to take the next step in your life, which is complete opposite of your background of being a lawyer?
Well, it is I appreciate you acknowledging that, because attorneys, we tend to be kind of like, hyper analytical, don't want to share emotions. We need to be strong for everyone, right? But I've learned through my personal development journey that there's strength in vulnerability. Then that's really where our strength comes from, is being vulnerable with ourselves and being okay with that. If we can embrace all of ourselves, not just the parts that we think are acceptable and strong in others' view, we can really be at our strongest, because we're embracing all of ourselves, the strong, so to speak, the powerful and the less powerful. But that's where our power is, really, in that vulnerability, because it builds trust with ourselves and with other people when we can embrace all of that.
Beautiful. And the vulnerability gives the trust and access to who we are, knowing that, you know what, I can handle this. I didn't know that before, but I can handle this. And, I'm shifting to a different direction. It's scary, it's something unknown. But, just trusting in the process, that there's abundance, there is sustenance, that your sustenance will always be taken care of. Your job is to do what you need to do as a human being for the highest good and serve others. So thank you so much, Joan, for your courage in doing that, and for breaking your own cycle of your predictable future.
Yes.
Who knows? Like Joan could probably be with wearing the blazer and the
Yeah.
tight skirt or the pants, starting off the court with a Hermes bag, being taking care of people or being miserable. But thank you, Joan, for your courage and kind of like redirecting the
Mhm.
things that matter the most to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Joan. Okay, so next I would like to bring in Charmine, and the next author. And this lady has dreamed about being a best-selling author since she was 9 years old. It just took her 10 years. She's 19 now, plus a little bit more years. But it's just taken her since she was 9. I have a daughter, Nadra, who's 8 years old, and she dreams to have a pony. So this is like, Charmaine, this is a lifelong dream for you. What is it like to not just be a published author, but a number one international best-selling author?
Well, first of all, good morning to each and every one of you. This is really kind of interesting sitting over here and doing this interview. Never in a million years thought I would be on TV or Facebook Live or anything like that. But today I'm actually more humbled and I'm just slowly soaking everything in. First of all, when I just saw the book on Amazon, just the cover and everything, that's when it kind of hit reality that yes, what at least I aspire to do is becoming a reality and it's a dream fulfilled now. And it would have never happened without the presence of Gabby and Joan Claire and you, Dr. Izdihar, to have made that dream come true. So in that sense, I feel like maybe I'm accomplished, but it just hasn't soaked in just completely yet. But I'm very grateful and happy for this opportunity and to be actually over here and be able to share our very personal and vulnerable and intimate moments with the world so that whoever reads it can gain some insight from it. And hopefully, even if there's one part of their lives that can change because of having read our stories, for me, that would be my mission, seems to have been accomplished. So I'm very happy to be here.
Beautiful. Yeah, and then one thing I want to acknowledge about you, Charmaine, is that you did not give up on your dream. At 9 years old, you just like, this is what I want to do. And over the years, you did not give up on your dream because the only way your dream isn't going to come true is when you quit on it. And like God has given you exactly what you want to dream at the purposeful divine timing with the best people that's going to help you. So I just really want to acknowledge you for that, Charmaine, because a lot of people, when the dream comes to them, like I remember, like I've always wanted to be on Forbes. It was my dream. I prayed for it. Like we pray 5 times a day. So, and then when suddenly someone says to me, hey, do you want to be on Forbes? My lifelong dreams, I've prayed for it, for many times. And then guess what I said? I said, no, I don't want to be on Forbes. Forbes doesn't want me. Forbes is this, which is like crazy, right? It was my dream. But when he kept knocking, I'm like, no, thank you. But my heart wants it. But Charmaine, you had the courage to stay loyal to your dream and kind of like, this is what I wanted since I was 9 years old. And then here I am saying yes to the opportunity. And Charmaine, you were saying earlier, I've never imagined I'll be on Facebook Live. I've never imagined I'll be on TV because the journey doesn't stop. So how do you feel about that, Charmaine? The journey of sharing who you are and your story and your voice doesn't stop. Does it kind of like scare you and excite you? Or you're like, are you open to things or like, what is it like for you now?
I think what I've learned from writing my own story actually was like, if you just take the first step, one step leads to the next step, to the next step. So that when you look at the whole big picture, it can be very scary. But just pacing yourself and just being focused and being true to yourself, I think that's the most important thing, being true to yourself. And I feel like there is divine intervention. God uses us in many different ways. Sometimes we have to go through hell to come out on the other side to shed the light of our own stories, of our own life experiences, so that others can also see that there is a hope for them and possibility for them. So there was a time when I felt like a girl growing up that, our voice doesn't really matter. It's just your thought, your feelings. But now this is all out. It's very intimate part of my life that I've shared. Wasn't wanting to do it, but I felt like it had to be done. So that one courageous action and one bold step can help others wake up too into their full potential. And so for me, using my voice now is like I don't want to shut up anymore. It's like I want to speak out where I see that there can be room for improvement, where there is just injustices in the world. I feel like being silent doesn't help anybody. It takes courage to really stand up and call out what's not right, so that even if one person can stand beside you, then your voice has been heard. And that's what I intend to do now. I want to bring light to domestic violence and just violences and just injustices that are done on a daily basis in our society. So with my story, I'm just hoping that somebody will see this one woman's journey and going through those experiences and coming out on the other side, and what that person can do to use those experiences to shed more light towards a situation to better it, in other words.
Absolutely. And what I've been told personally is that my coach actually said this to me. He said, is you got to bring the light and the mic to people, the light and the mic to people so that they can share their voices without prejudice. A lot of times on mainstream TV, you cannot say a lot of things. I've been interviewed by mainstream TV. They only give you 2 minutes and then you're done. And there's a lot of things that you cannot share or talk about.
Yeah.
And like Charmaine, what you say, just take the first step. That is like, take the first step, even if it's small. It's going to make a difference, because like people like me who are type A, we like to overanalyze a lot of things and want to see the whole thing, want to see the bigger picture. But when you're in the process, you just got to trust the process and the next step and the next step, a story, and then write it down and then review it and then polish it and then, putting everything together. So thank you so much, Charmaine, for your courage, for taking that first step. I feel that now like the lid has been taken off and you're like kind of like unleashed now. You're like, hello, I'm here. I'm going to share this. So congratulations, Charmaine. We're so proud of you for it wasn't easy going through what you went through, which we're going to touch in a moment. But thank you so much for your courage, Charmaine.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. And then next, I want to bring up Gabby. So Gabby, darling, let's talk about your chapter about commitment. You talk about commitment to yourself, to your family, to your community, to the people around you. But most importantly, like how can people give the commitment when these people that you love or trusted, have wronged you at one time? So how can we give ourselves or gain our power back to when people have wronged us?
Right. Thank you so much for such a, it touches the deepest part of me when now where I stand from to see into commitment, into power, and how across and along my path it has been shifting my understanding towards it. If I were to speak to you and to share about what it was for most of my life, living in resentment that I didn't even wasn't aware fully, and resentment and hatred and all the unconsciousness creations around me, with me, through me, to me. And now as I pour my heart out and my soul out into this concise, amazing book, I Am Powerful, speaking about commitment, service, and presence, is exactly literally what the words are saying. Commitment to be present finally for once and all into it, have the guts, the courage to see for what it is, what has been, and now for me, it is a way of seeing this experience of life, and in every area of life, when And now I can, as I speak in my chapter, going back to the womb of my mama, having this power within us, this connection, or our idea with God, our idea with higher supreme intelligence that was always there, but that was all blurred through the most traumatic experiences that I myself as an indigenous woman walked. And it's been a process. It's been a process of hate and love with myself, and hating on my parents, hating on so many people that I would have wanted them to protect me. But now I'm so grateful what life has given to me exactly, precisely, and perfectly for me to learn and to remember the commitment that I am, the service that I am, the presence that I am. And now I see the commitment my divine sacred mama it is, the commitment my dad, all that they have done for me to be here. And it's a complete shift. It could be a hard pill to swallow for many of our listeners, because I deal with it every day when I serve people. How on earth can I love on to even just dare to look at it from that perspective? And it is painful. It is not easy. It is at times reliving such painful, cruel moments in our path. But I am here to share with you that the power within us, that power that you cannot intellectualize it, you cannot access it with the mind, rather with the heart, rather with that love, with that light, that there might happen something for you as you experience our book that we created with all the love for you. It was the hard. There's not a moment now when I reread these chapters that I cry myself. I see myself through that baby and through that little girl, and that's me. That's here, and it's possible, and that's the invitation, that it's possible to feel at peace with you, to recreate what commitment could look like for you, what service could look like for you, what presence could look like for you. It may not be maybe those words or what might you, but the invitation is there. You are on mute.
Thank you. So I think when people talk about commitment, all of a sudden it feels like heavy. It feels like heavy, it feels big, it feels painful, it feels yucky. But the commitment that we're talking about here, what you've described, is just a possibility. Commitment is a possibility. Commitment is an access. Commitment is an invitation. Commitment is love, it's generosity, it's forgiveness, depending on how it is. Because in your book, you shed so many kind of like trials and tribulations and trauma. And the book I Am Powerful is available on Amazon. Guys can go and check it out. But it's that commitment. If you start to see commitment as not such a evil thing, not heavy, not like, I see it as a possibility, as a hope, as your access to yourself, as the light, then things start to shift. And one thing you mentioned, Gabby, is about it is possible to have peace even when it was hard. It was hard for you to comprehend it as a kid, even as potentially now as well. Like, it was hard to be treated that way, regardless of whatever that person is going through. It's hard to be treated that way. But it is possible for you to find peace and the joy and the light. And speaking of the possibility there, what would be your biggest advice, Gabby, for people who are, going through certain things? They couldn't even see the tunnel, let alone the light. So what would be your biggest advice to them?
For you, thank you for listening. Thank you for being in this space and allowing yourself to experience us. something that comes from the bottoms of my heart is that you are not alone. In those moments, it's so hard. We isolate so deep and so dark, and dark thoughts take over us that the power within us disappears completely. And I have been there more times than I wish to admit here. And that power within is there with you always. And I am with you. It is unfortunately one word or one advice. I mean, who am I to give you an advice? And I have no idea what exactly you're going through. But please know you are not alone. That's what I feel in my heart in this moment. And know, and this I can guarantee you, and I can promise you that there is light on the other side, because I am walking with you. I have walked that, and here I am, as painful as that is.
Excellent. And just have that faith, right? Like you just gotta get through it. You just gotta get. I know it's hard. I know it's painful, and then when you be at a point when you will be seeing so many tunnels, you couldn't even choose which tunnel that you wanted. You just gotta walk through things, and that when you cross into the tunnel, that's light, that's laughter, that's joy, and because I've seen Gabby where she is now. You're traveling, you're serving your children, you're taking care of your children, you're helping this beautiful, amazing woman. So that your purpose on this earth is way bigger than that part of you who was who had to go through certain things, because it means that who knows, like you could share things now and help other people. So thank you so much for that, Gabby, and have faith. Walk through it. You're not alone. Like Gabby said, Gabby is here, and so are the other ladies. They're available via social media, but you are not alone. Or whoever that you trust, you just gotta reach out and ask for the help. And you'd be surprised, actually, people are more than willing to help. They just don't know that you needed the help. So thank you so much, Gabby, for the wisdom. And next, I want to bring in Joan. So, Joan, let's talk about your chapter and the intention that you had behind it, and the vision or the hope that you had behind the chapter. So, what was the key that helped you to share this story? Because you shared that you were in an accident, and then you shared that you went through several cycles, or of anxiety, of I need to figure out where things are, of don't know what to do. But then it's hard for us moms, because you've got 3 kids. It's hard for us moms to be in that state because we don't have day off. We don't have any day off. So let's talk a little bit about your chapter and share your inspiration behind it, Joan.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Izdihar. So as I mentioned, being an attorney, going through, really feel blessed to have an elite education behind my history. And it wasn't until I got into personal development, inspired by my husband, actually, he started to get into personal development, and I saw a shift in him and his reactivity to our middle child who has some behavioral challenges, that I saw a shift, and I was inspired. Like, maybe there's a different way to approach life than just to kind of be reactive. And I have my faith. My Catholic Christian faith has helped me through so much in life, but I didn't know that I had the power within myself to create that peace, this beautiful, peaceful place within myself, right? I prayed to God, and I asked for certain things for healing and for certain outcomes, but I didn't realize I had power over my thoughts, and creating that distance between the thoughts and what I believe about myself and others in life, right? So it's really a practice that I didn't have any familiarity with. And then as I became a coach and hired my own one-on-one coach and mentor, I not only learned that I could buffer myself from my thoughts and create a distance there to change my experience of life. But I could also connect to my own heart on a very deep level, developing this relationship with my heart, my little girl, this little inner girl, this child, this innocent, sweet little Joan Claire, who as a child had some trauma of feeling abandoned and still felt scared in many ways. And that was something I had no idea was even there until I was in this bus accident in Argentina in college. And it wasn't until becoming a coach that I actually had the kind of ideal environment and courage to step into that place where I could be vulnerable and loving with my little girl and not be scared that she would drag me down as well, connected to God as well. And I think most of us walking around don't have an experience that this is even possible, of developing a relationship with ourselves on a deep level. And that's really what I wanted to share in my chapter, that your true power is in being this powerful, loving presence to yourself. And it doesn't require that your spouse or your boss or your friends be there for you 100%. Like, yes, people are with you there. You're not walking alone, but you can actually be that presence for yourself, that loving, showering affection on yourself. And to me, that's true power, is when you can be the love that you are and acknowledge that constantly as a choice throughout the day. And it's a journey that I continue to walk every day. It's a choice to be loving within myself and not choose fear, but to choose love. So,
I mean, thank God for your husband, right? Who's like, let's give him some credit to our husbands where credit is due. So
yes,
good
100%.
job for him. Yes, a great job for your husband.
And he's an attorney by background as well. So there's hope for, people in hyper analytical backgrounds. We tend to operate much in our head, but imagine how much more powerful you can be if you can connect your head and your heart and be, it's like a whole new level of being down here that we don't even use, we don't employ much in our day to day.
Yeah, absolutely. And like connecting with the heart, something that you touch as well, because this heart is often being ignored, because a lot of time we operate here in the brain. It's kind of like logic. And sometimes even on paper, it looks okay, but the heart would tell you to go the opposite, because the heart knows. What I feel is that the heart is where the guidance comes in from God, from the Creator.
Yes.
And it's hard to like, no, this looks okay on paper. Everything ticks off. Like, you want to hire someone, you want to buy a property. Oh yeah, tick, 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 tick on the paper. But the heart says like, no, not that person.
Right.
No, not this place. No, not here. So it's kind of like really powerful that having the connection with your heart to guide you to of course you need the analytical part as well, because you don't want to abandon certain logic, but having the heart in there to guide you. What would you say is your biggest advice, Joan, for people it takes practice to listen to your heart? So what would be your biggest advice to people who wants to start shifting more on here, the A people, the more analytical people? I'm a computer scientist, so I have a lot of thinking to do. My husband's an engineer, so it's a lot of analytical, but sometimes when you do certain things, that it's like, oh, I just gotta do it. And one thing that I was taught, Joan, when I was about to give my TEDx talk, that the power of my voice isn't here or isn't here. It's actually lower where the reproductive system is. That's where the source of the power of my voice is, where people feel it. So what's the biggest advice in kind of helping people to start listening more to their heart? Is there a routine? Is there a ritual that they can use?
Well, first of all, thank you for asking that. I think there's a fear of the unknown, right? We're so used to living in our heads and analyzing, and in our work, we use that analytical ability, and it's a gift that we have that. But I think it's important to realize that in opening up your heart and connecting to your heart, you don't lose that analytical ability. you just in some way increase the power of that analytical ability because you have that wide open, big picture connected to wisdom and intuition, and it's all the more powerful. Your analytical abilities become more powerful the more you can open your heart and connect your mind and your heart. So there's no loss, right? It's an expansion. So first of all, to just kind of adopt that premise or that idea that you can actually become more of your true self and more powerful through connecting to your heart. And as far as the practicality of that, I share much in my book about just, it wasn't a one-day process of just like, okay, connecting to my heart, I'm good now. It's a consistent practice. And I still practice it. Even this morning before this call, I have a picture of my little girl here, and I just kind of an acknowledgement of her and my heart and those emotions, and just loving her completely for who she is, not for, the ways I could have done things better, or maybe I should do this way, or judging myself. It's releasing the judgments. And in that sense, it really helps to have an outside person, a guide, a mentor, a coach to walk alongside you. So you don't feel alone on this journey, because it can feel kind of scary to connect to this vulnerable part of you, especially if there's been some trauma and, sad feelings or, whatever comes up. It helps to have someone there that's walked the path and can be that loving guide and mentor alongside you as you walk that path. But as far as the day-to-day practice for myself, it's connection to my heart. It's releasing my thoughts and getting in my body through little mini mindfulness reps. I use a positive intelligence program often in my coaching, and just being more in my body, grounded, connected to my body, and not so much thinking all the time. It's taking those breaks from the thinking is where the wisdom and intuition can arise. So that's
Beautiful.
It's both practical
Taking
and
the time.
vulnerable.
Yes. Taking the breathing, taking the time, taking a break, and also just, breathe. Like what I've taught before, it's just the breathe, the meditation, and then, just breathe in and then breathe out and just settle things in. So thank you so much, Joan, for your wisdom. And next, I want to bring in Charmaine. So Charmaine, let's wrap things up in 5 minutes. What is the inspiration of your chapter in the book, I Am Powerful? Because you shared some really deep things that people in your culture wouldn't be doing. So what was your inspiration behind that?
Okay, so when Gabby approached me that the title of the book was I'm Powerful, I was like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to write about. And then when I took a moment, I said, yes, I have a very, very powerful story inside of me that's been buried for almost 16 years. And it needs to come out. But the story didn't want to come out up until this point because there was a lot of shame and a lot of guilt around it. Being in an abusive relationship and wanting to leave your husband when your background from Pakistan is like you got to stay together and, work it out and this and that and all this other kind of stuff. It just wasn't the right thing at that moment. But then when I started realizing that this life is not worth the living it in a way that I wanted to live, that's when the inspiration happened. Like I need to look at elsewhere to figure out how I can get out of this relationship and make a life for myself and my 2 kids who were 5 and 7 at that time. And so for me, just being able to write the story, I feel like I have given it voice. And now that I've given it voice, I can no longer see it kind of wrapped in guilt and shame. It's like out there, it's free. I'm able to express myself freely now. And I feel much lighter. I feel like I can say things to people and really stand in my own truth and be authentic about it, because I have lived through hell in some parts of my life and come out on the other side. So I can really understand when people are struggling, that they're not alone, and that with somebody listening and seeing them and hearing them and giving them their power back, they can do extraordinary things.
That is like when you touch about shame and guilt, that is big. I have, really good friends who are similar like you in a relationship as well, but are still in the marriage because of the guilt and the shame. And also, what if the kids blame me for moving away from this relationship? What if the kids blame me if I leave the father. So there's a lot of that, and they still in that relationship. And I think like what I see in you, Shaman, so much courage, so much bravery, but at the same time, you're like, I can't stand in this position anymore. It doesn't work anymore. I gotta be free, because who knows, it could lead to more toxicity in your life or your kids. Your kids were 5 and 7. Had you stayed, is there a possibility that it could affect your children's mental health, or yours as well? Was that, one of your concerns as well?
Yes, it actually was. And the funniest thing is, I actually really attribute my getting out of this relationship to my kids. My daughter, who was at that time, we were still married, we had moved to Colorado, and my daughter was about 5 at that time. And one day, out of the blue, we were driving, and she said, "Mom, how come you keep crying every day? Just get a new dad." And that's when it dawned on me that the kids are very perceptive. They feel things, even though they don't have the ability to openly say it. I understood that they knew intuitively that something wasn't right between mom and dad. And it slowly kind of gave me the courage to really see the situation at hand, face it rather than living in denial. It was time to really kind of take the bull by its horn and say, okay, what is going on in my life? Why am I so miserable? What is it that I need to do? And all the thoughts were like rationalizing. You got to stay for the kids. You got to do this. You got to be a good wife. You got to do this. All the thoughts kept coming until in my moment of silence, I really understood the power of the heart. And it spoke to me. My heart spoke to me, because when my husband proposed to me, it happened like within a month of meeting each other. So I was like not even sure. And I said, maybe the first time. Then before I left, he asked me again, and I said yes. And I had some second thoughts, like, is this really something that I want to do or not? And I always was told as a young child, listen to your intuition. My grandmother was a very powerful force in our life. And that was the time that I didn't listen. My mom had told me, before you just go out and just say to anybody, think 100 times. And I'm like, no one's going to ask me to marry. I'm just going to meet the guy, and then that's it. But I came back with a proposal and already said yes. So the power of the heart is very important. It actually spoke to me and said, look within yourself too, like all these other ladies. And that's where you will find the true gold. And it was until that moment that I felt like all the answers are within me. It's within me to get out. It's within me to stay stuck. What is it that I choose? And then when I listened to my heart and wanting to move from what my soul really loved, my soul wanted to be free. It wanted to express. And the ability to do that and fully express myself now, it is the most wonderful feeling. I feel like a little bird who's opened the cage and is now able to soar and fly away and like look at the larger perspective, and hopefully be of assistance to anybody that's going through their own life where they feel stuck in a corner and they don't know how to set themselves free. The answer is within you, my friend.
No, that's another book, Charmaine. The answer is within you. That's like a whole beautiful. But something you touch about your little girl, right? Like what an incredible little girl. I mean, she's not a little girl anymore, but she's always gonna be your little girl. But what an incredible little girl who's like, I feel sometimes like we're being directed to certain things. We just got to be open to it. So your little girl was having, like you said, probably an intuition or something like, if you're crying every day, just get a new daddy. And you should be like, yeah, I'll just order one from Amazon. Click, and order one from there. But sometimes like we just gotta listen to the signs, and also the bigger picture. It's not just us anymore. Like when you have kids, it's also our kids, and see what 5 years looks like, 10 years looks like. And that is like a really incredible thing for you to do, for any mom to do. And I just love what you said. Like your heart actually said when he proposed, wasn't sure. Your heart will actually kind of knew. But like you bypass it. And it took you, how long was the marriage, Charmaine?
It was 9.5 years,
5 years?
and it was that much harder for me to leave, because I felt like I had
Nine.
to stay within the societal, confines and stuff. But it was 9 years that I didn't have the courage, but every day my spirit was being broken little by little by little by little. And that's when I realized that all you have is your spirit and your soulful expression. And I realized through my social work training and everything, and talking to thousands of people too on their deathbeds and everything, that when they die without expressing who they truly are, it's the time doesn't come back. So for me, I felt this was my moment to just bite the bullet, just do whatever I needed to do, and just become free. It's like literally getting out of bondage, like you are in bondage in your physical body. Not so much, even though it was abusive physically, it was like the emotional and the psychological confines of being in that thing. You couldn't express yourself, and your soul is screaming out like, I want to get out of here, do something, do something. And that's when I realized there was a saying that I read. It says that when your soul speaks to you, it speaks to you in whispers, but when you don't listen to it, it starts roaring like a lion. And when the roar becomes louder, it's your soul saying it's time to move on. And for me, that was the indication. It's time to move on. And lastly, I wanted to also let people know that there was a saying I read. It says, make time for quiet moments as the world is loud and God whispers. So sometimes we have to silence ourselves, our thinking, so we can truly, truly drop into our heart and express ourselves and our hearts based on what it wants to express. It already will guide you in how it needs to be fulfilled and how it needs to be expressed itself.
Fantastic, Charmaine. So let's wrap the interview up and bring all the ladies back up on stage. Let's wrap things up with this. My heart says. So, Charmaine, my heart says, go.
My heart says, always look within to find your truth and express your soul purpose, for therein lies the power of you setting yourself free.
Beautiful, and your heart said all that. That is like beautiful. So, listen to your heart, right? Like be in silence, listen to your heart, and your heart will guide you. Thank you so much, Charmaine. Joan, my heart says,
Love me no matter what.
hooray! Love me no matter what. We can break into a song. Love me no matter what. Fantastic. And Gabby, my heart says,
I love you and I love me.
hooray! Heart and love. That is the theme of today's conversation. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today with the show. It Takes Courage, and the book I Am Powerful is available on Amazon. Thank you so much, Charmaine, Gaby, and Joan, for joining me today.
Thank you, everyone.
And,
Love you all.
and you're able to catch up with them on social media. They're all on social media, so make sure you reach out to them. Thank you for listening, everybody. Until the next episode, this is your host, Dr. Izdihar Jamil. Tell yourself, yes, I can. And so it is done. All right, lady, let's say goodbye to everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.